if you grew up in the Northeast, then some things don't need explaining. They just happened. Here are a few things that you didn't really notice until you leave. And the first thing is privacy is flexible. It's not like it's absent, but it's flexible. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. One time I mentioned something very casually, about something I was thinking, probably my plans, and like genuinely casually, not like an announcement or discussion. And 2 days later, one of my aunts, when we met, she asked me about it in detail. And I remember thinking, wait, I haven't even finished processing it myself yet. That's when you realize you don't always decide when to share things. Sometimes information just moves faster than you. It's not like spying. It's not gossip in a dramatic sense. Just people are close. People live close and people care and people notice. Number two, support is real, but it comes with commentary. And it's another very kind of Northeast thing. If something goes wrong, people don't really ask, they just come, they just help. Someone brings food, someone brings something else, someone sits with you, someone stays with you. And maybe at the, like the opportune moment, they'll say like, next time, maybe you should do it this way. I already told you, right, this would happen. Yeah, so you're being helped and reviewed at the same time. It's not criticism. I think it's just concern being spoken out loud. And number three is, this is very real. I think a lot of people will relate to this. Growing up here, you don't really introduce yourself. There have been several moments, especially during like Christmas, gathering and New Year, when, being around is part of the joy, part of the festive season. I meet someone, at least for me, for the first time. And before I could even say anything about myself, I could introduce myself, they ask like, "Ako sa datangti?" Sometimes they don't even ask. They already know and they're just confirming. Your name comes later. Your family and your village comes first. You're not placed professionally first. You're placed socially first. Before you've had time to introduce yourself, they've already identified you kind of like socially and geographically. Number four, success becomes community property. If you do something well, one achievement, one job, one result, exam, whatever, it doesn't stay individual for long. One uncle will say, our village boy, someone else will say, well, our people are doing really well these days, something like that. No, I'll tell you one real life example recently. I've had one of my sisters whose name was included in the, honorable mentions in the list of achievements for that community because, and this was recently, I think during the, Miss Chakpi or something like that. Yeah. So because she was the first one in her community to have completed her, something master's or PhD in mathematics. Yeah, which feels nice to be honest, but it also means that people start watching you more closely after that. You've had one achievement and everyone's expectations quietly upgrade. And the fifth is you're not really anonymous. You can, maybe disappear or leave for years. You can move away, you can change, and you might come back thinking, okay, no one probably, really remembers me now. And someone recognizes you from when you were a kid or remembers something about you that you yourself forgot. So you didn't just disappear. You were just temporarily out of sight. And last but not the least, elders are still the OG. You can be educated, experienced, well-traveled, but when elders speak, the room, kind of adjusts. You might explain something in detail, like the background, the logical reasoning, and they'll listen quietly and then they'll say one line. And that one line will just somehow end that discussion. So they're not always right, but they're also rarely ignored. And none of this is good or bad in a way, It's just how communities work when history is shared, when people are connected, when lives, kind of overlap. So if you grew here, you probably didn't even notice these things growing up, right? You just lived them. If you know, you know. Till next time, take care. Catch you in the next one.